New York Giants fans, it is day 3 of free agency 2025. The Giants have made some moves. They've been interesting moves, right? Defensive back help, depth at defensive line, depth on the offensive tackle position. I've been on record as saying that I think that these tackle positions means that we're going to get a move for Evan Neal from tackle to guard. We don't know that yet. People on the internet are still clamoring for them to sign a quality guard. What I'm still waiting for is that quarterback shoe to drop. But since that's not happening, I've got my man, Brandon Howard here, CBS Sports fantasy editor, here to talk about what's going on with Jevon Holland, why he was available, what he can do for the Giants, and more importantly, just to tell me if I'm tripping. Because I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I've got a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, New York Giants on that side. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information from. Make sure you go over there, see the free agent tracker. Make sure that you check out my good, great, and uglies. You can see one that's dropped on Jevon Holland there. You can see one that I did on Debo, right? The Giants version of Debo now, not the Washington Debo, but the New York Debo, Debo, if we're being more specific. Check both of those out there, and then come on over here to the New York Giants on SI YouTube. Hit that subscriber. We've seen the subscriber intake pop up a little bit. Now I'm thinking about 3,000. Why not? Right? It's 22 million Giants fans out there. I think 3,000 is doable, in our sphere. So appreciate all of you guys who come along for the ride as we do this. We've gotten into the first year of free agency since I've been doing this podcast. It's been great seeing your feedback. Continue to leave your comments. Continue to leave your concerns. We don't have to agree. That's the beautiful part about this thing. We don't have to agree, but we can always be respectful unless you say something goofy, and then I'm going to read you. And it's okay because you deserve to get read. You deserve to get read if you say something goofy, right? So with all that being said, I want to bring in my guy, former Dolphins beat writer, currently now working CBS Sports on the fantasy side as an editor. Anytime that I'm writing something and I'm like, I don't know if I caught the attention right, I bring this man in, none other than Brandon Howard. You can follow him on social media at bhoward_81. Brandon, I appreciate you joining me, man.
Oh, no doubt, man. Thank you so much for having me on. And hopefully I don't say something silly so I, get read by you in the end, but I think we're going to be good.
Yeah, no. And even if you say something silly, I'm going to tell you about it. I just probably won't do it on air. And then you're probably going to come back with something. I'm going to go, my bad. I'm sorry. That's how it goes. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys, there's an entire show in our text threads that we have. Man. You people will never see, because I'm pretty sure it's not for public consumption.
That needs to be a show all in itself.
Yeah, we don't hold punches. There's a lot of arguments in that thread.
It gets crazy, but we hug it out.
There's a lot of love in there. There's a lot of respect. But there's some differing of opinions in that thing, and it will come out at any point in time. I really do appreciate it, you, and I wanted to get you on because I know even though you're not, boots on the ground in Miami anymore, as far as, at practices, you still follow the team. You're still locked in on all things sports. And when it comes to perimeter play, I trust you as a guy who's been there, done that, to know what we're looking at. And so I wanted to come on and I wanted to talk about Jevon Holland, the signing for the Giants. I know a lot of Giants media, Giants fans are excited about the signing, and I think it's a good signing. I'm not going crazy over the signing because I always go back to the obvious question, right?
Right.
Why did the team let him go? What don't we know? And mind you, I'm saying that as somebody that still doesn't understand why the Giants let Xavier McKinney go last year for free.
No, understood.
Right. So it could 100% be a situation like that, and we'll talk about it. But first off, I just want to get with, in your opinion, what went wrong in Miami to make them not want to invest in a 25-year-old safety in a league predicated on passing?
Right. And that's kind of hard for me to decipher, but I think that when it comes down to it, this is a guy that is kind of a tweener of sorts, and I feel like, he kind of got misused a little bit. He was used as somewhat of an alley defender a little bit. And he's more of kind of like a get him down on the ground type of guy. He's not a guy that's, going to go ahead and strike. He just kind of gets guys on the ground. And it's not a negative thing.
No. You're answering some questions ahead of time. No, it's great.
Yeah. He gets a guy on the ground, and so he's not but I think his strength lies in being able to kind of see the quarterback, get vision on the quarterback, find the football. Is he a guy that's going to play middle field, and be a center fielder type guy, get, red line to red line? I don't think he's that. But I think that when it comes down to it, he's a guy that can get off the hash, make plays, hash to hash or hash to sideline type thing, and I don't think he's going to be your center fielder type of guy. But
okay, that's great. And I have to cut you off because that's where I disagree at.
Right.
I don't want to see this dude by the line of scrimmage.
No,
like he's athletic, he's explosive, and I think that if he plays as your third level safety, that's his best. That's the best way to use him.
Right.
So even it's not going to be Tyler Nubin. Tyler Nubin's a glorified outside linebacker.
Exactly.
Right. Like it's not going to be Tyler Nubin playing back there. So to me, it only makes sense for him to be that hash safety / center fielder when you need a center fielder in a man-free situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
I think we're saying the same thing.
All right. So then in your perfect world, what the hell were they doing with him in 2024?
I think it's out of necessity. It's a thing out of necessity. I think that they needed some more run support, guys that know how to fill, and I think that they were kind of running out of bodies, and that's kind of the role that he fit that year. He's not that type of safety. I really think that they kind of missed the boat on how he needs to be utilized. But I think that when it's all said and done, I think that they would have acquired pieces that would have allowed him to be who he naturally is. However, I just don't think it happened that year, and they didn't see the benefit of paying that guy that much money because he was going to end up costing a lot more than the Dolphins were willing to give up at that point in time. And he tested the market, and it's almost double what the Dolphins were willing to give for him.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that the Dolphins were out here trying to give this man like $7 million a year?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't going to be what he ended up getting in New York.
Wow. Do you think that the Giants overpaid, or
I don't?
Do you think that the Dolphins were lowballing them?
You also got a fact. I think that the Dolphins, when it's all said and done, they feel like they can replace them. I think they feel like in this draft, there's guys that they can get that will allow him to just, it's not that they feel like he was just super replaceable. He was respected. They really like Chris Greer really liked him a lot. You got to think that he's a Chris Greer guy. He's a guy that Chris Greer really liked in that draft, and he went to go get him. So it's not that, he just wasn't respected at all and they just let him walk. They would have preferred to keep him, but at a certain price. And, the market wasn't going to allow for that to happen.
See, that's interesting because I think this is a place where Chris Greer has misstepped at that position. You had Minkah Fitzpatrick in the hand, and for some reason you couldn't make it work out with him. Now you've got another safety in hand, and you're not going to be able to. You've missed out on the primes,
right?
Or you've missed out on the prime of one. You're going to miss out on the prime of another.
Yeah.
And now you're back to this is what the Giants did with Xavier McKinney. And to their credit, a year later, they are saying we made a mistake. That's why we've got to bring in
Another guy.
You
Yeah.
know, do you think that'll end up being a situation in you know in Miami where they find themselves looking for somebody, or do you think that they feel like they have a guy on the roster already, and then whatever they get in the draft is going to be kind of depth?
I don't think that you have the starter in place already. I think that they're going to have to go ahead and address it once again in the draft. And it's unfortunate you're going to have to utilize draft capital to go ahead and try to find another guy that fill those shoes, you know. But that's just kind of the way it happens. You know, it seems like just re-signing him wasn't enough of a priority, you know, to go ahead and do. So unfortunately, you know, it looks like they're going to have to go ahead and use a draft pick to make that happen.
Yeah. So in your mind, what's the best way to utilize Jevon Holland in a defense? If you were a defensive coordinator, you're putting the defense together. How are you utilizing him and his skill set?
I think he's a guy that's got to have vision on the quarterback. You know, I think you got to put him, you know, in a deep third type situation, or you know, have him in a 2 deep type situation, and occasionally allow him to be that buzz defender to come down, you know, in robber type situations. Let him go ahead and do that, because I feel like he's got good ball skills. I feel like he's got great anticipation and instincts. However, that's just unfortunately not the way he was utilized in Miami. And, you know, hopefully in New York, they have a better idea of who he actually is as a player. And, you know, they put him in where he's best suited to play.
One of the things that I think that will help him in New York is that, you know, the defense is more wants to be more predicated on zone coverage.
Right.
And I think that's a place where he can thrive because he does have such an explosive first step, right? He gets out quick.
Exactly.
His ability to be able to break on a dig, break on an over route, you know, buzz to a corner route, buzz to a deep out. You know what I'm saying? I think those are places where he could really be effective. And then if you do have him in the 1 high, I just think if you get those quarterbacks that like to float the fade ball,
right,
those are perfect for him to come over and make a play.
Right.
I think he has great ball instincts. I don't think he has great ball skills.
You're right.
Because if he did, then there would be a lot more interceptions on his, you know, because he's gotten to a lot of balls.
Right. Just hasn't come away with them, though.
He doesn't come away with them. And I think that's probably one of the knocks on him. And so I look at somebody like him and I say, yes, he's an upgrade from what the Giants have had.
For sure.
But still not perfect. Do you think, you know, let me rewind that. I want you to just tell me if I'm tripping, right? You could just tell me if I'm tripping. We play a game. Am I tripping? Let me start here. Am I tripping when I look at film and it looks like he's making some business decisions on these tackles?
See, that's going back to kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier, you know, and I feel like he had to play a certain spot out of necessity, you know, last year. And I think that, you know, hopefully in New York, he's not going to be asked to make the type of plays, you know, and be that alley guy he was occasionally in Miami, you know, and that should bode well for him not having to make certain plays, you know, any longer. But I kind of have to agree with your assessment a little bit. You're not tripping at all. I see what you see as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, because there's some times where there's a couple angles that he takes. I'm like, you didn't take that angle.
You didn't have to do it that way. You didn't
take that angle looking to strike. You took that angle because you knew he saw you.
Right.
Like I think that when he has a chance to strike and not be seen. Let me throw that whole 205 pounds at you, because he's a slightly built safety, right?
Right.
Let me throw this 205-pound frame at you. But if they see me, nah. I'm gonna take this angle. Right. I'm buzzing for those ankles.
Right.
And
there's nothing wrong with, as a defender, preserving your body a little bit. You know, I get it. You know, I see it, you know, because the NFL is not built to protect defensive players, so you got to protect yourself. And I feel like he does that, you know, just as well as any other player in the secondary.
Yeah, I just don't like when I see safeties, right? Especially When I see safeties buzz for the ankles, it's not a good sign for me. Like, I don't like it. You need to be, because you've got enough time to generate force, right?
Yeah.
You've got the distance. Those dudes are playing at 22 yards back there.
Right.
Like, you've got enough time to run downhill full speed and get the force on your side.
Right.
You've got to be able to at least hit thigh board. Right.
I get you, but some of them running backs, man, I don't know. I get it. I get it.
Fair.
You know,
and I also didn't play when I was in my I wasn't playing at 205 pounds.
Right.
So I was playing at much heavier than that. Like, and so I get, okay. Am I tripping for not wanting him to ever line up as like a first level guy again?
No, you're not tripping at all, because
I never want to see that.
He is, and I feel like that was total mismanagement of a player. You know, that's just not who he is. That reminds me of who did the Dolphins have a while back, or the other safety, Rashad, was it Jones?
Yeah.
I felt like it was almost the inverse. They were using him, as a guy in the deep third, when I felt like he was one of your better sure tacklers in the game.
Get him closer to the box. Yeah.
So I feel like, it's just kind of flip-flopped a little bit. You're just, it's a misevaluation, either a misevaluation of the player, or you're doing it out of necessity. And I feel like it was the latter for Holland, this past year.
I will say this: when I was doing some film study on him for my Good, Great, and Ugly, I did like the way he blitzed. Like, I thought he had really good timing on his blitz. And then I went, well, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Because he has really good timing when he's breaking on passes.
Mm-hmm.
It's that same explosive step that he uses to, like, break on a pass that he was using to, like, explode into the backfield. It's just, he ain't got no lead in his pencil, man. I watched one time, I think it was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is 175 years old. He hit Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers just kind of like, stumbled over. It's like, you're supposed to kill him.
Right.
Like, he's supposed to be dead right now.
And it's one of those instances where, again, the guy can't see you. So he's got all the courage in the world to come up and make that play, but sometimes it just doesn't end up, the way that it should.
All right, so it's 2 for 2. I'm not tripping.
No, you're not tripping so far.
I'm feeling good. This is my last one. Tell me, am I tripping for thinking there's still another level for him to get to, like a level that we haven't seen him play at? He's 25 years old, so he's going like for a defensive back, he's walking right into his prime right now.
No, young guy.
25, 26, 27, maybe 28, depending upon how well your body holds up. You're usually in the prime of what should be your defensive back career.
For sure.
Right? So is there still another level for him to get? Could the Giants see the best Jevon Holland that anyone's ever seen?
Yeah, time in the same system as well is going to be helpful. So if that ends up being the case for him, I think he's going to fare well. And I think that just the more NFL offenses he continues to see, and his instincts will just continue to take over. And like you said, I think that there's just another level that he can get to, and just being utilized the right way. He's not the player that they tried to make him out to be in Miami, and I think that time being utilized the right way in alignment with his skill set, I think that he's going to carve out a very good career for himself in New York.
Okay. So Giants fans should feel good.
Oh yeah, this signing. Don't get me wrong. Like, anything that we said, I don't feel like it's overly negative. I'm a fan of Jevon Holland. I think he's got a lot of potential, and like I said, the more time being utilized to his strengths, he's going to see a good career.
So I said that I like the pairing of Adebo with Holland because Adebo is a more physical corner.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Holland, in my opinion, is a more coverage safety.
Right.
So now you've got a physical corner who, if you're playing cover 2, now he can be that force guy.
Exactly.
Right. He can be that guy that comes up and makes tackles. And you still have Drew Phillips, who is hard nosed as they come for a little dude in the slot. And then you allow a guy like Holland to man the third level and maybe that deeper second level
right
that he can come down on. I think that's a great combination, a great pairing that you can have over there. Meanwhile, on the other side, you've got Banks, who I know a lot of people bagged on last year for really goofy reasons. He had no mentorship over there anymore. You got rid of his mentor. He had a bad day. I mean, a bad season overall, but a lot of the stuff he was covering a lot longer than he probably should have been covering for a team that supposedly had all of these pass rushers. And so I think if they do combination style of coverage, he'll be that man guy on the man side, where you'll have a Debo on the other side being the zone with Holland. Now you've got Drew Phillips to man up your slot. You've got Newman that can drop down, rob second level, play run force. It makes for very interesting combinations to put together when you're trying to do that.
They all supplement what the other one doesn't do well and vice versa. So I'm a fan of all the pairings they got there, and it seems like a good combination. And really, for me, the success of that secondary, and just like any secondary, it's just a matter of how quickly can the defensive front get to the quarterback now. And because like you mentioned, that was kind of a trouble spot last year. Those guys were left in coverage a lot. You can't ask them to plaster, in the secondary as long as they had to last year. So hopefully that gets solved this year. And I think that this is a secondary that could have a lot more success this year.
For sure. I want to get your opinion on some things around the NFC East, because it's interesting some of the moves that have been made. Number one, the Giants going to Seattle to get their linemen. I think has been interesting. They've taken a defensive tackle from the Seahawks, and now they've taken an offensive tackle. Neither one of them are expected to be starters.
Right.
Both of them are expected to be role players, backup tackles, defensive tackles that come in on pass rushing situations. Do you look at what they're doing and saying, hey, this must be them saying that they have faith in the people that are in there, they just need help? Or do you think that this is a clear sign that they're looking to the draft to upgrade?
It's the latter. It has to be the latter, because as it stands, I don't see, unless you're just banking on the guys that you had getting that much better or exponentially better, and I just don't see it. So I really think that there's going to be a lot of draft capital spent on basically improving and upgrading that defensive front. You have to. It's all about getting to the quarterback. And right now, it just doesn't seem as though the pieces are in place for that to be happening on a consistent basis. So I definitely think it's the draft, unless they end up trading away draft capital to get who they want at the quarterback position. So we'll have to see how all of that pans out. But if they don't have to trade up and use draft capital to get the quarterback that they want, then I really have to believe that defensive front is an area that they're going to have to go ahead and look at to improve.
So they also signed Chauncey Golston, the defensive end kind of tweener. I would call him a modern day. He's an old school D end, strong side D end. Right. He's a modern day 4 technique, right?
Right.
And that's probably where he'll play more in this defense. A little D end when they're probably more run heavy, but when they want to rush, they'll have both of those little dudes out there rushing. Oh, sure. And they'll bump him inside.
Right.
I think it's an interesting move because he's not a starter. No. He's a spot duty guy, but it's taken from the enemy, right? It's lessening their depth. What do you think about that move and taking a piece from Dallas, who obviously they've been able to have efficient pass rushing, even though they can't stop the run, right? So now you take a pass rusher away from them. And so you weaken their depth while also bolstering yours.
Right. It's always, it's being able to do that within division. It's always a good thing. However, just how effective will he be remains to be seen. But it's always good to have a guy that can do what he does, right? Just the versatility, as you mentioned, be able to bump inside. It's a man's world in there. And he's proven that he can make that happen inside. He can at least be able to stalemate and make sure that the linebackers can rally to make a play. So you see, what he can do just to be just gap control as far as that's concerned. Like he's proven what he can do. And just that a level of versatility that he has on the end, being able to bump inside, I think that's big. But taking from a divisional opponent is always a plus, and I feel like that's a great move. However, as far as just overall talent is concerned, it leaves some to be desired.
Philadelphia losing defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
No one seems to be worried. No one seems to be concerned about it. Why do you think that is?
Because their defensive front is just so good that they feel like no matter what you take away from us on the outside or on the perimeter, it really doesn't matter much because we're going to get to your quarterback. We're going to get to your quarterback no matter what. And I feel like what they have left also, just some of the young guys that they have and that they drafted in last year. I feel like they think those guys can take on larger roles also.
Do you think this is the Cooper DeJean moving to the outside next year and not playing the slot? Because he was effective in the slot.
I would be hesitant to make that move, honestly. If you see a guy, he's good where he is, I'm not messing with that. I'm leaving him where he is. However, I think that they've seen enough, whether it be in practice or in spot duty, spot situations, that they feel like, because they see him every day. So they feel like he can, assume that spot and that responsibility. Again, remains to be seen. I saw what I saw last year. I would be leaving him there, but I get it.
Yeah, it's interesting because they got rid of Slay. So you get rid of Slay, you get rid of Gardner Johnson. Right. You've got your young boy Mitchell on the other side. Great.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to play out there.
Right.
And either you're going to bring a rookie in and go, hey, Rook, go out there, or you're going to take the now second-year veteran Super Bowl champion and put him out there and put someone else into the slot. Or maybe they're just going to wait and see what the musical chairs leaves out there and try to bring back in.
Right.
But it's interesting that they've been letting go defensive backs and no one seemed to be concerned about it.
Nobody bats an eye.
Yeah, and not even a little bit.
But you know why that is.
Yeah, because they're loaded. Now they did lose some defensive linemen.
Yeah, they did.
But they're so deep.
They're deep. They got young guys. They've got young guys. Washington,
their moves really more trades than just free agency.
Right.
Bringing in Deebo Samuels, right, to now pair with Scary Terry. Like, what do you think about that combination? Because everybody was applauding it, and I went, I don't know how this mesh is supposed to work.
I hate that I agree with you so much, man, but this is where I'm at with it. I just feel like, I feel like what we're going to see is Deebo lose some weight. Try to make sure he's back to, because I think he gained a little too much weight in the offseason last year. So it kind of appeared as though he lost a step a little bit. We'll have to see, if he can regain it, and look more so like his, 2023 season, around that range. Like, see if he can regain that form. But I just don't know how those two mesh together between Scary Terry and Deebo. I don't know if I see it. I don't know if he kind of assumes more of like what Austin Eckler's role is currently, and just a bunch of short stuff and occasionally in the backfield. Do you utilize him as a movable chess piece, so to speak, just as he was in San Francisco, or are those days behind him? I don't know. It's a lot of questions. It's more questions for me right now than answers. And I have a hard time seeing how this is going to be as positive as everyone thinks it is, but we'll have to see.
They also traded for the offensive tackle Laremy Tunsil from Houston. I don't know what the hell Houston's doing over there. I don't know why they're getting rid of all their they didn't perform that well last year. I just don't know how you're going to leave your franchise quarterback in a lurch like that.
Yeah.
But I digress. That's for Houston to figure out.
Yeah, as a unit, they didn't perform well. But if you just look at Laramie Tunsil, the individual,
Yeah.
he's still Laramie Tunsil, man. And
Yeah.
I just don't see where they got off thinking that offloading him was the best thing to do in this situation.
Yeah, no, and so like that's an automatic upgrade for a Washington offensive line that wasn't very good. They just looked better because the quarterback is him, right?
Exactly.
So that's another thing that the Giants are going to have to deal with. Oh my gosh, now he's going to have better protection than he had before. That should be an issue that they'll have to work on. Before I get you out of here,
for sure.
Quarterback has still not been addressed for the Giants.
Right.
I guess they're waiting on the names, but my question to you is: should they be waiting on the names?
No. Wow. You need a quarterback. You go ahead and you strike now. And I don't see how you could see what Shedeur Sanders has done, his ability to kind of withstand the bright lights all his life, and not think he's not made for the bright lights in New York. If he's there and you need a quarterback, I think he's your pick. And I think it's as simple as that. All this talk about him being a second-round draft pick when he's shown you what he's capable of all this time. He's got the anticipation. People knock him for his arm strength. Joe Burrow has shown you since he's been in the NFL, you don't need the strongest arm as long as you got the anticipation and you know what you can, pre-snap and post-snap, you know what to anticipate. You don't need the biggest arm in the world. And I don't know why he continues to get all these knocks. You want a quarterback who's confident, and everybody's talking about we don't like the flash. And you got to have that as a quarterback. You absolutely must have it. So if you are a team that needs a quarterback, and New York needs one, and if Shedeur Sanders is sitting there when it's time to pick, his name should be called right then and there.
I think the thing that makes me the most angry about it, because if you don't pick him, you don't pick him. Somebody's going to pick him, right? All of the things that people have clamored that you need to be a good quarterback in the NFL, from the neck up, he has. From the heart, he has. And now all of a sudden, those things don't matter because he can't run fast.
Right.
And he doesn't have a cannon for an arm. Two of the things that everyone told us didn't really matter if you really are a good quarterback.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't need these two things. Now, all of a sudden, he can't be good because he doesn't possess those things.
Right.
Number one, he's much faster than anyone ever gives him credit for.
For sure.
HBCUs are a lot of things. They're not slow.
No.
He was running past HBCU guys who in high school were sub 1,100 meter guys.
Exactly.
10.8s and 10.7s, like respectable 100-meter guys in high school.
Yep.
He's not running by schlubs. Is he Lamar Jackson? No. But guess what? Nobody's Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
Nobody's him. So I think it's interesting that they've used the very things that they have said don't matter,
right,
to discredit him. And the things that they've said matter, they went, yeah, but they don't matter for him.
Exactly.
I don't like it. And I hope that it's the okie doke. I hope that the Giants are just sitting in the back going, yeah, just let them drop the 3.
Right.
We'll keep these draft picks, let them drop the 3. I still think there's a chance that he might still be in play in Tennessee, because I don't think anyone has put enough stock in the fact that he fits that offense perfectly.
To a T.
So I think there's a chance that Cam Ward drops to 2. But if Cam Ward drops to 2, are the Browns bold enough to let him go by? With the uncertainty of Deshaun Watson's health, right, and with the guys that they have on that roster as quarterbacks, can you really afford to let him go past that 2? So I could see a world where the Giants need to get to 2. where you
Right.
just bite the bullet and give up a third rounder to get
Whatever
to
it
2,
takes. Yeah.
right?
Whatever it takes.
I don't understand the reason to get to 1, because either one of these quarterbacks are going to work in this offense.
Exactly. It's not necessary to get to 1. It's just whichever one falls to you.
Yeah, and you don't have to go out and pay $40+ million to Aaron Rodgers to come in here and do his dog and pony show. You don't have to pay a Russell Wilson $30+ million a year to come in there and throw those moon balls. Like, you don't have to pay these aging veteran dudes who really want to try to be on a team that has a chance to make a run.
Right.
And if they're coming to you, they're only coming to you for a cash grab. Yeah, you don't need that type of energy out here.
Right.
So if you're going to get a veteran, I keep saying Jameis Winston. That's the one that I keep saying.
Excellent stopgap.
And now, by the way, with Justin Fields going to New York, I'm kicking the tires and seeing if I can get a Tyrod Taylor back in the fold.
Right.
If I can get Tyrod Taylor back to the Giants.
For sure.
Because I know, especially if I get Shador, now we're talking about comparables that make sense on mentor to prodigy.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. So it's really interesting. What do you have going on? What's popping over there in the fantasy world of CBS
fantasy
Sports?
world is just, right now the biggest thing is going on is baseball season, but we are getting more into NFL draft, type things in the sliding and the ADP numbers for the rookies or the incoming rookies. So stay tuned for all of that. We'll have the draft sliding for all of those guys that we anticipate doing well in the NFL, and the guys that you might think that are going to be highly coveted draft picks, but we may think that, hey, depending upon where they land, may not be the best guy to draft in fantasy. So we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. Brandon, I really do appreciate you joining me. Make sure that you hit him up, follow him in all of his work at bhoward_81 on X, and anywhere you're doing your thing, you'll find him there.
Sure.
Brandon, thank you again as always, brother. Love you. Appreciate you and all that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Make sure that you go to the New York Giants on SI. Check out everything that's going on over there, all of the articles that we're doing. This is my bag. This is my time of year. I'm giving you all this work. You getting it for free. You ain't even got to do nothing except go and hit the little link to the page, and then come over here. And as they say on the Raw Room, I'm gonna still go pay your rent, right? Come check in. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell a homeboy, hey yo, a Giant issue, Coach Gene. He over there giving it up. He bringing on people like B. Howard. You got to go and check him out. Because until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I've got a Giant issue.